Hi, everyone. I hope you are all having a wonderful Friday. I got a really, really bad congestion yesterday, and I have an event tomorrow. So, y'all keep me in prayers. I was thinking, I said maybe it's because I started talking about Ghanaian people and my village people, and now they're like, listen, let's silence her a little bit. I'm kidding. But I still decided, I said, I'm going to still run my mouth. So today on my tangent, I'm going to talk about just Ghanaian churches in general. Um, like I've experienced Ghanaian churches on 3 different continents, and like I feel like you know it doesn't matter what part of the world I found myself in, right? Um, if I'm looking to connect with people from Ghana, like I always felt like the best way to do it is usually through the church. I mean, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but usually, based on my experience, that's usually the way that, you like if you move to a place and you're wanting to connect with the Ghanaian community, that's usually, what you do. But I'll tell you why when again, even when I lived with my parents, that's how we always found like community with our people. But I opted to not do that when I moved here because, yeah, to be honest with you, even when I was in York, Pennsylvania, I refused to go to Ghanaian churches because, at least again, this is solely based on my experience, okay? It could be completely different for other people, but my experience, and I use anyway, I'm not going to use country because then they'll know what church I'm referencing. But the bottom line is, well, not that I care anyway, but I'm a spirit for now. Um, so my experience, like growing up in a Ghanaian, church, it felt just to me like not a healthy environment, if I'm being honest with you. And like I did not want to put my children in that kind of environment where, at least similar to how I grew up. I just recently found a Ghanaian church that I actually really like. You know, so yes, there are some there that maybe I haven't been there long enough, but at least what I see so far, I like it. But in my experience, anyway, like when I was growing up in Ghanaian churches, it just felt like it didn't feel authentic to me in the sense where you're expected to, behave like the people faking it the most. you know, Parents like comparing kids to each other. It's like a big competition sometimes. And I feel like we're so sometimes focused on um like that aspect of it that we forget the reason why people are are choosing to be in that community is because they want community. And I mean, some of these churches are just not a healthy place, toxic, you know. And so for me, again, even when I was in Pennsylvania, I that wasn't the case. I went to like a church that had um, not just Ghanaian. In fact, I was the only Ghanaian there for a while until somebody else joined. But we had people from like every, African country that you can think of. And there were plenty of Ghanaian churches where I live because I just feel like this may be the case too for some other African, churches. But I especially found this in Ghanaian churches specifically, that the environment can be toxic. Like I'm going to church to find community, to find peace, to come as I am, you know. And sometimes that's not the message that's being received. Because again, I shared this story about a couple of months ago. I was visiting my sister. Anyway, we went to a church, and basically, y'all know me. If I love something, I would not shut up about it. If I don't like something, I don't shut up about it either. But we went to the church. I was like, it was so comforting to me to just hear music in my language. And, I remember turning around to my sister. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to look into, this church when I go back, back to Chicago. My sister was like, girl, don't do it. They're going to kick you out. You got too much mouth for them. And she was not wrong. She said, they're going to kick you out before you start. But here's the funny part. After she said that, we laughed about it and continued to enjoy worship. We basically, it was three of us, my sister and I and another friend. And again, all I'm doing is just complimenting how wonderful this girl is singing, how beautiful she looks, nothing. I mean, that's all I was saying. This woman turns around and goes. And I mean, some of y'all may have shared this, heard this already because I shared it. But she turned around and she was like, she was like, you're in the house of God, something like respect yourself. I don't know. But it was so such a turn off. It was such a turn off. It affirmed for me everything that I'd been, feeling. I mean, don't get me wrong, as isolated as living in Chicagoland has been, because I haven't really been around our people. At the beginning, it was on purpose, because I was just like, listen, I got mouth. It's not going to work. But as isolating as it was for a long time, because I didn't have a village. I didn't, now I can genuinely say I have a wonderful group of just people in my life. But at the beginning, that wasn't the case. And even that, I still opted to not actively be in Ghanaian churches where I knew that I could find community. But I didn't know what that community would look. Well, not that I didn't know what that community was going to look like. I was afraid of what that community is going to look like. So I guess all of this tangents to say, Ghanaian churches, if you are looking, for people to seek you out, there needs to be some uncomfortable conversations happening within your churches. Because I know for a fact I'm not the only one who feels like this. I've talked to other friends who feels the same way. They might not be telling y'all, but that's the case. And I think there is so much beauty when we support each other, when we're not putting children against each other, when we're not comparing children to each other, when it's not like a competition. I want to be around people who are lift me up, teach me what you know. That can make all of our kids go up, and for me, growing up in a Ghanaian church, that was one of the biggest turnoff for me. And that's what has kept me away from actively being part of a Ghanaian church community. I think conversations need to happen among ourselves. So my question to you, if you are part of a Ghanaian church community, is what kind of conversations do you think you should be having with your members about what their actual experience, how they experience your church? Anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening. I'm going to go back to putting my face in a bucket and recovering, because tomorrow I've got this event and you know what? It's going to be a good day. So y'all have a good night.